Good evening and welcome everyone to the live streaming tonight from Emu Park. What a beautiful place it is. And I've got to tell you, we've actually flown from Canberra this morning after a hectic week. So we've come up here and we are actually had a day out in the reef. But when I say we, I'll introduce you to Senator Malcolm Roberts, Queensland Senator for Pauline Hanson's One Nation. And at the end, we have Senator Brian Burston from New South Wales, another Pauline Hanson's One Nation Senator. So we've come up here on a couple of issues. And the first one we did today was we took the fast cat out, which were very gracious to take us out to the reef with the journos. So we invited them. Usually I keep them away from me. But I thought it's important that they come and join us. There's been a lot of talk about the reef, that the bleaching is killing the reef and the reef is dying. Well, we seem to think a little bit otherwise about it, so we went out to have a look ourselves. And like everything about Pauline Hanson's One Nation and our senators, we want the truth to get out to the people. We want people to know what is happening, and you have a right to actually know the facts, debate the facts, be part of this conversation that we are trying to present to you and bring you along on this journey with us in our time in Parliament. Because to me, and to each and every one of us, it's very important because we are making decisions for your future and your well-being. So another reason why we are here tonight is that it was about 6 or 8 weeks ago I held a meeting at Rockhampton, and at that meeting we had about 350 people turned up. At that meeting, there was a gentleman named Dylan, and he asked me a question about returned servicemen that have PTSD. Feeling they are forgotten, no one's listening, no one cares about their issues. So because of that, I have actually decided with my senators tonight to come tonight to the area again to hold this meeting. I think it's very important to open it up, to talk about this issue, to bring other people in who feel are forgotten about this, and to actually take back the message to Parliament, to the Prime Minister, to other members, that something has to be done about it. Now, the whole fact is, I don't know everything about it, and I don't claim to know everything about it. I'm here to learn, and I'm here to try and understand. So my first guest tonight that I'll be talking to is Dylan. Hello, Dylan. Dylan Fraser, and he's from the 2nd Battalion in Townsville. So if you can give Dylan... Now, Dylan was telling me, between you and I, for those people who are tuning in to this live streaming, if you know any of your friends, family, or anyone out there that you think may be interested in listening to this live stream, please get in touch with them. Give them a call and tell them to come on board and listen to what is said here tonight. Now, I'll just make this quite clear to everyone that's here, and questions that is going to be asked tonight, it is only on the topic of PTSD. I'm not interested if you've lost your cat or your dog or anything else. This is about PTSD. Okay? Now, Dylan has told me he's actually been pacing around the house all day today and absolutely terrified. His wife is telling him to settle down. And I said, Dylan, you're fine. It's like we're just sitting here having a chat. I'm not going to have a go at you or attack you or anything like that. It's just... we're going to have a nice conversation. Now, Dylan, just tell the people about yourself, please.
Pretty much about myself. I served 10 years in the 2nd Battalion Royal Australia Regiment from early 2000 to 2010, then got posted down to ARTC, which is where you go through Wagga and learn your initial training. Got out after that. So So pretty much, I'm sorry I'm going to have to refer to notes because sometimes I get a little bit confused and people in this situation will understand why. Look, firstly I'd like to welcome everybody here. Some people have travelled a long way to be here. There's families here, children here. It's getting a little bit late at night. I totally understand that. I have 4 of them. So I thank you for that. I'd also like to thank Senator Pauline Hanson for giving us the opportunity for this. Obviously she cares enough about us. I'd also like to thank Malcolm Roberts from Queensland and Brian Biskin from New South Wales for coming up and also showing their support. Before I talk any further to Pauline about what we'd like to talk about is I'd just like to say at some stages during this discussion, and it's been on the forum there earlier, that this may trigger. There can be a few triggers during this session. If you're at any stage feeling like you're getting triggered, please feel free to move up the back there, get some fresh air. I totally understand what it's like to talk about this topic, so feel free to move. I'd also just like to remind everyone, like Pauline just said, is that we're here to talk about veteran welfare. We're here to talk about veterans' needs and the troubles that we're facing at the moment from us people in rural, regional areas, and even big cities are facing. So we're here to talk about that. So I'll appreciate if you keep your questions to that. Thank you. So that's pretty much me in a bottle. I've been out for 6 years now. So I'll hand back to you, Pauline.
Dylan, do you feel it's best when you sort of open up and talk about it and how you feel, or do you feel a little bit, you want to withdraw into yourself?
I normally don't want to talk to civilians about my PTSD or my anxiety or my tours overseas at all, to tell you the truth.
Do you think it's because we may not understand, or that you may appear to be weak, or is there
it's not that I appear to be weak.
not that you are, it's just your feelings.
No, I know that, but it's not that I will appear to be weak. It's I can never tell you enough for you to be able to understand what a soldier goes through overseas. So it's hard to talk to a person that you know that will never fully understand that. And I know we do get a lot of empathy from the civilians, and I thank them for that. But we're not chasing empathy.
We've never worn your shoes.
No, you've never worn the shoes, and we're not chasing empathy. We're just chasing acknowledgement.
What has it been like for you to go from transition from military to a civilian life?
That's a hard road that I'm still fighting right now. I got out of the military because my wife gave me an ultimatum. She said, if you don't get out, I'll leave you and I'll take the kids. So that was it. I got out, I tried to get out immediately. I spoke to psych. There was no help from psych. The only other option I had at the time was to go to Padre, and I thank him for what he did, and he helped me get out, and I got out, and my marriage was saved due to me getting out quickly. So I did not medically discharge at the time. I discharged normally. However, I was going through some problems that were getting very, very hectic at home. So to transition to civilian life, I had a year off because I had long service, did tours overseas. Your service adds up, you don't get a lot of leave. I had about 8 to 9 months off paid leave. I scored a job through a friend or a mate, through a mate out in the mines, because that's how you get a job in the mines. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And I started shop firing, where I did that for 3 years, and then I had my actual full-blown meltdown out at the mines.
And what worries you about having or being diagnosed with PTSD the most?
The main thing that worries me about the diagnosis is not the diagnosis itself. It's not what civilians think of it. It's not the stigma of it. It's truly it's about what your peers think about it. Back in the day, being an infantry soldier, You're put on a pedestal of you're rough, you're tough, you're a warrior. We're all still warriors, no matter what corps you're in, no matter what service you did. We are warriors. It's just sometimes we lose that when we have PTSD and anxiety and stuff. We lose that thought. My main problem is with my peers. I've lost contact with a lot of my peers because I feel that I shouldn't or haven't done enough to be able to be diagnosed with PTSD.
Do you feel that governments have actually failed you?
Like, that's 100%. And we could talk about that for a long time, and there'd be a lot of people to grab hold of this mic and really rouse it down. The thing that I'd like to say about that is, about a year and a half ago when Iraq and stuff like that flared up, I tell you what, geez, the government was quick to sign off to send the lads over there, weren't they? Now, you have a think about it, they signed off on that in about 3 days, right? As far as I'm concerned, you spend billions, millions, trillions on wars. If you want to send people to war, when they come home, a part of that money or that the budget that they would like to spend on that war, a part of that is your soldiers coming home and needing help. It's not you go there, we spend this amount of money on that war, we come home and everything's good, because it's bloody not. And that's true.
I agree with you. When I was in Parliament 20 years ago, between 1996 and 1998, I actually was involved with some of the Vietnam vets who came to see me. And what I picked up from that was they didn't have the support from the government. They actually, what I found is for even the Vietnam vets to actually go and see a doctor was extremely hard, or to open up or to talk to anyone about the issues is extremely hard. But what I found and what they came to see me about was they were talking to a doctor and they've gained confidence in that doctor, and they actually that doctor was their person they were seeing and talking to for 2 years. And for no reason whatsoever, the government was moving him on. He didn't want to go. He still wanted to be the doctor to these vets. And they felt distraught because someone that they had built up confidence in to speak to and talk to, and I was able to actually ensure that that doctor was still there for them, which made a big, it was very important to them. Is that the case?
Well, like you're saying, Pauline, is to build a rapport with someone, or to build a rapport with a civilian, whether they're a doctor, whether they're a psychiatrist, whether they're a psychologist, to build a rapport for a returned service man or woman that is going through these difficulties is very hard. So when you do get a doctor that you feel that you can open up to properly, because a lot of these people will go to doctors. They will go to doctors because we need to go to doctors to try and get the support. But a lot of people will not open up to their doctor legitimately and tell them exactly what they are going through, because there isn't that connection. There's not that trust. There's not any Australian ex-serviceman can come up to me straight away and say, "Hey, I was served." Straight away, I'm his mate, no matter what.
Yeah.
I don't care where he served. I don't care what he did. He's my mate. He's my brother, or he's my sister. So it makes it very hard to be told to go to these doctors and stuff and build up a rapport.
It's just not about you also, is it? It's about your family as well, your wife, your children. They're on this journey with you as well, aren't they? What about help for them? That's what I want to know. Do the families, do the wives, and need assistance as well to deal with this, do you think? And are they given that assistance? I don't know.
Well, it's at my understanding that VVCS do offer a family counselling service, but you have to meet. There is criteria to sort of meet it as well. But what I do 100% know is I did 5 tours of operation, and I was married for 4 of them, and I had kids for 4 of them. Now, my wife sat at home for 6 to 7 to 8 months at times. Sometimes I wasn't able to have a phone call for 50 to 60 days once we'd left and got in country. Actually didn't shower for 58 days when we went over there, but it was quite horrific. We smelled a bit bad. But what I'm saying is the wife at home, looking after the children, we all know what children are like to look after when you're both working together as a team at witching hour, 6 o'clock at night. This wife's at home on her own, hasn't spoken to her husband, who's on operations overseas for 2 months. That's got an effect of woman. Women are very emotional people. We know that. So are blokes, but women are more emotional, and we know women are more heavily stronger than the mind. But it's a very hard thing. With help with families, they try to get wives clubs going, and a lot of women won't want to be involved in them because wives clubs can get very bickery. So it is pretty hard. I don't think the wife or the husband is supported enough. Without a doubt, it's not.
Dylan, is this, I hear of the suicides, and there's quite a lot of suicides, more suicides in Australia, on Australian soil, than the numbers that have died in overseas fighting in Iraq or these countries. Is it mostly men, or are there some females that have suicide? Are you aware of any females, or is it just really a male? Do women do it tough, do you think?
I can't answer that question. To the numbers between sex, I don't know it. But all I know is since 1999, approximately 295 people have done it. And there's been approximately 44 to 45 this year alone that have done it. Is it more? Yep. Oh, JJ. Good to see you, mate.
Yeah.
What was it, JJ?
We've had over 60 people die this year, so we've had more. We're losing people at the rate of more than one a week.
If everyone doesn't know, this is JJ Enchong. I invited him up. He does a lot of this speaking.
More than 60 people.
And he's a very knowledgeable man.
More than 60 people this year. JJ. Do you want to get...
Come up, mate.
Is it stress testing?
No, you're right.
How you doing?
Hello. Nice to see you.
John.
Hey, brother. How you doing? Yeah, I just come back from Canberra where I did a poppy service for all those who've committed suicide this year. We've had over 60 commit suicide, and yes, there have been females amongst them. One who sadly committed suicide in front of her family, her children. I started doing some work with veterans suicide 10 years ago. I suffered from PTSD like my brother here. I tried to commit suicide. I don't consider myself as somebody who has PTSD, but a survivor of PTSD. And my job now is to help all my other brothers and sisters get through this. PTSD is not a terminal illness. It's not a terminal disease. Having said that, I can understand.
How did you get over it? What is there an easy answer? What do you need?
It's a whole lot of things.
What needs that we need?
What we need is people like yourself with the political power. We need leadership from our political leaders. We need all the ESOs to pull their finger out. We need to work together. And I don't mean to say this in a rude way, but if politicians can hold a royal commission for one refugee who dies in Nauru, but we lose 60 people in 1 year and nothing is said.
Well said.
Yeah, well said.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but we lose the plot when they're holding up candles for one person, yet 60 people already. Over 60 people have died already, and we haven't even got to the suicide season. We've lost the plot. They're holding up candles for them, and yet 60 veterans can't even get a big lighter.
So you're saying suicide season, so you're saying Christmas.
It's
Of course.
always around Christmas. It's this
My wife and I have not had a Christmas or a New Year's that hasn't been interrupted by a veteran who is committing suicide or has committed suicide for in over 10 years. We've not had a Christmas or
I spoke at a breakfast yesterday in Canberra, and a lady stood up, and she said that she's married to a serviceman, still in service, and they've lost 19 friends, and many of them around Christmas, and Christmas is a really bleak time for their family.
At this point of time, I'd like to introduce Ken O'Brien. Ken O'Brien is a doctor, Ken O'Brien. He's actually a PTSD... No, stay here, please. PTSD specialist. So anyway, Ken was telling me earlier that he's been studying this for 37 years. And Ken, would you like to make some comments with regards to this, and what can we do? What needs to be done? What message do you want to, because I'm sure there are some politicians that are tuned in here. If not, we'll be taking the message back.
Yep.
And what do you think?
Well, firstly, I'd like to just say, g'day JJ, it's good to see you again. It's been a long time, brother, but good to see you
Just
around.
hold your mic up.
Good to see you around. Thank you.
Still to be here.
Yes. And both yours and Dylan's words were ringing true for me over there. The families, are the people that have to often pick up the pieces. Normal is different from us once we close the front door.
Yes.
And you have to face outside. So what I'd like to see, thank you for the question, Pauline, what I'd like to see is not just acknowledgement, as Dylan said, but that awareness and understanding. We'd like to have that trust relationship where we could go up to somebody, a practitioner, and say to them, I've heard that you're a good bloke to talk to. And I know that there are a few people in the audience here that could probably point a finger to somebody else in the audience and say, yeah, I go to talk to that fellow. Or I go to talk to JJ. Or I go to talk to my dad. And it's a different story for those people who are left behind when the serviceman or woman goes off and has that service time and they're overseas. That has been swept under the carpet. That has been ignored, walked over. That's just been forgotten. And it's often those kids grow up in those environments and they go to school and they get it. That's right, they get it themselves. This is intergenerational trauma. And we have got an education system that fails to acknowledge that. And so when we pigeonhole children all in the same group, and they have got a genetic predisposition to anxiety, stress and other related conditions, we have got an education system that is failing our children. They cannot reach their potential. And so the cycle repeats itself. We'll see an increase in crime, we'll see an increase in delinquency, we'll see an increase in antisocial behaviours, and we'll also see an increase in suicide in them. But because they didn't go to war, they don't get the help. But they have got exactly the same kind or quality of PTSD as their father.
Exactly.
In Dylan's case, it's his children too. And I'm not very concerned. I'm very aware of Dylan's plight. And what I'd like to see here today, coming out of this, is that improved awareness and acknowledgement, and for the policy makers to actually listen to what's being said here tonight.
Okay.
To flip that paradigm upside down, where instead of them making the policies on what they may have read or studied over a 2,000 people because they've read it in a textbook or something like that, but never worn the uniform, is they actually listen to people with the lived experience of military trauma. You cannot put military trauma the same as a policeman's trauma. Now, I'm not degrading that policemen or ambulance officers get trauma, because by God they do. And they're heroes in our community, but they get to go home every night. This brother beside me here didn't. So he didn't get to offload. And also we've got various acts and legislation that says he can't talk about his experiences. So who can he go to? Who can he go to that might have served alongside of him, yet has got the Medicare registration number to say, I'm qualified for you to listen to. More lives are saved from suicide intervention by brothers who have also served alongside of you. Sorry, mate.
Definitely, you got groups like RR Overwatch, not just RR Overwatch. You've got Overwatch.